Why don't I call this meeting to order? President Lisa McGonigal, Wayne Sawchuk, Paul Kears, and Dan Coughlin. So I believe as far as the first order of business, does March the 1st work for everybody for our next meeting?
Sure.
Yes, March 1st, next one.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we have, I'm sure we have the Cook Estate ready to go. And does somebody want to speak up for the Cook Estate?
I don't know if Jane's the spokesman over there. She's on.
She is on, I can see her.
Jane, you're muted. So we can't hear you at all, Jane.
No, she's in her car, looks like,
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah, Bluetooth might not be on.
or a spaceship.
There, is that better? Is that better?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. So I'm gonna put you on speaker. Great. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
All right, great. So the only update I have is that we were able to meet with Sean, and I had a phone conversation with the abutter, Brian Heggie and his wife. And at this point, they are leaning favorably to letting us go across their property in the front with an easement. He is speaking to his lawyer. I'm going to meet with our board this afternoon later on, and they're looking for some financial remuneration compensation in order to do it. So I'll run that by our board and the lawyer. And I'm hoping in the next time we meet, if not in between, that we would have their approval and signed document to allow it to go across the front. It also, their septic system sits close to the wall. It's in the front near Sawyer Street. So in order to do it, they're going to need to connect, because probably this is going to go right through their septic system. That's what Sean thinks anyway, right, Sean? Is that, he's probably not.
Yeah, their septic system is in the front of their lot. And in addition, they have some large trees that they want us to try and avoid. So I think part of going through their front yard is going to have to be grabbing their residential service as well and tying it into this line on the way by. I suppose that's probably part of having the easement be through there as well, but they do seem amenable to it. I think there's wetlands in the back and some other features that they would like us to avoid. So we're going to try and go through the front yard. But again, there's some financial and legal things that they need to work out with the Cook Estates before they'll give the 100% yes, but they seem very agreeable to in theory, of the process.
Good news.
Any questions or comments?
So Sean, are you going to prepare some sort of like sketch or tentative plans based on that? Different than what you've done now?
I probably will. I don't know the timing of that. Like I said, so.
Okay.
Any
they're
questions or
asking for
comments?
some financial, certainly incentive, so that the board has to talk about that, whether the numbers match. It's looking like now will be relatively towards the front of the lot. They do have a retaining wall that's there that's it's old, so we want to stay off of it. It's a nice feature. What I presented to them was it should probably be a 15 to a 20-foot wide easement to allow if in the future needs to get in there and have access to it. That would be probably the size that would be needed. Again, also being kind of towards the front so you could access it without a major disruption going forward. We do need to have some survey done to locate water service and things like that, going through that path, but that is the next steps.
Is an alternative to go down the shoulder of the street in front of their wall or something and just go around their property? I know, but in the original time, we were going to go down the edge of the road or in the road or something, but is there room between the property, their property line and the street?
Yes, but you asked me to get an easement
No,
to
no,
go through their property.
I know,
Okay.
working on your behalf, because if you have an alternative, the cost of the easement might be a lot less or none at all, or you go the other route. You know, in other words, if we're 30 feet away from the street and there's a 8 or 10 foot, if it's a 40-foot layout, it's going to be, you know, close to.
I'd be surprised if you had 30 feet from the street on that side of
No,
the,
where's their
wall.
septic system now? Where,
It's in their front yard, so we're gearing up to do survey now, as long as they authorize. They also said they don't want anybody surveying on their property yet until they speak to their attorney and have an agreement. So they have not given us access to go and try and officially find out that information yet. When they free us up and allow us to go on their property, we will be able to locate where their septic system is. We'll locate the wall. We'll have to show property line, and that'll all come into, you know, then we'll know where everything is. Just looking at it now, we're looking at, you know, guessing that generally that wall is probably their front property line. There is room, I think, between the pavement and their wall, but we're looking at it as, because you guys were kind of directing us to stay out of the right of way as much as possible, therefore keeping it on private property and not freeing it up for, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with the path of least resistance, I think, is what's important at this
Right.
juncture. Yeah.
it seems as though you could get an idea from the town-owned land at the school and the Cook Estate land on the opposite side, roughly where you're going to be without going on their property,
Yep.
right? The only thing you wouldn't know is exactly where the septic system is or the water line or something like that. Now, you could find out from the water department, the connection at the street, you'd have a little bit of an idea of what you're dealing with on that side.
Right, we
You know,
can.
I was against sort of wanting to do things on the street because it was opening up the rest of the street for any unknowns. But if it's a situation where they wanted $50,000, $100,000 or something, or you're going to get involved with, if they connect on, who's going to pay the $37,500? That's a big hit for the Cook Estate on top of what they're already going to pay. On the other hand, if that's the only alternative or the best alternative, that's what'll have to be done.
Yeah, so I haven't been on the call, and I think Jane dropped off, so she had given me permission to kind of move or speak to this. So I think I don't know monetarily, they're saying they want money for the easement. Now, when they speak to their attorney, that might change. But what they were asking was, I think, that the Cook Estates pays the fees to tie them in.
Right.
As part of, so I think they're a 3-bedroom house. And, you know, it would be the pump basically, because the pipe's going to be running right through their yard if we go that route. So that's what they were looking at. So Jane, the Cook Estates has a condo association meeting tonight, and they're going to start discussing that. They know that 3-bedroom times whatever equals whatever it is, you know, approximately $30,000, and then, you know, a pump and that stuff is probably relatively minimal to the overall cost of the project. Certainly the tie-in fee is more substantial. So if the board is comfortable, or if the Cook Estates Association is comfortable with pursuing that, and the neighbor was going to try and talk to their attorney before, they were hoping before today to maybe circle back before the association meeting tonight. I don't think that's happened yet. So we'll know sooner rather than later on that. And, you know, if it's a big number and and they can't come to an agreement, then I guess we'll have to go down the gutter line in front of the wall and do the best we can. But for now, unless it's a huge price tag that's beyond what the Cook Association can, they hear, I think that you guys are willing or would prefer it be on that private property. So that's what we were at least exploring for now.
Is the rest of the board members in favor of allowing the house to be hooked up?
Yeah, I am.
Paul?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I have no problem with that. I think that I anticipated the abutter being hooked up. Yeah, I've already planned that. I think that, any financial consideration that is agreed to between the two abutters, really, that's great if they can work something out. I think that's not something that we really need to discuss too much about, but certainly if they reach an agreement with the abutter, that gives Sean an opportunity to present to us a couple of options of what he can do. And then we can make some judgment calls on that, whether it's, out to the street or not, or straight across the front lawn.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and I think Wayne, you might have mentioned it, I'm in favor of staying away from the street as well.
And so I think that the Cook Estate people at their meeting can say that they've got this, they've got that as an alternative, or they had that as an alternative.
Yeah.
And we'll go along with either one.
Mr. Chairman?
With
Yeah, I see your hand. Wait a sec.
Yeah, that I wanted to point out, that's, I think, Alicia Babcock, who's on the Cook Estates. So I see her hand raised. I just want.
Yeah, I was going to wait, let us finish, and then I was going to bring her in. So are we
Okay.
all set on that? Okay. All right. So Alicia, you can talk, please.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. Sean, I was just wanting to make sure that while we have the sewer commission here, was there anything that we needed to get information-wise or permission-wise from them so that we can continue with Brad, getting him information for the survey parameters?
If you're asking me, no, I think,
Yes.
hearing the board would rather be on private unless it's cost prohibitive. I think we have a good idea. We can point the surveyor in the right direction. I think we're at that point.
Okay, I know he had asked you a few questions. I just wanted to make sure we had the answers for him and didn't know if that required anything from the sewer commission today.
I don't believe so.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. All right. So I think we're all set with this, and we can bring this up again on the 1st of March.
Yeah. Now, have they been able to get us placed on the warrant? I think that last time, I think you said yes, the Cook people.
There were placeholders last I checked.
Yeah, I think Pam Fahey has a placeholder in the warrant, and the verbiage of that, it could be set all the way up to town meeting. So I think there is a placeholder for it.
Okay.
But I guess if they do go on private property, there's a question for legal, do we need to go for that town meeting vote? I'm not sure. If going in the road layout is an extension of the sewer district, or if you go on private property, it seems like a connection. There's actually, I think, some precedent of that occurring in a couple of other spots in town
Would
where there
the,
were problems.
Ryan, would the school committee have to vote on it though? Because it's.
I don't know. I've brought it up to the superintendent and the business manager a few times, and offered to go to the school committee to talk about it. It's a public health emergency, and I think it's town property. So I don't know the answer to that, but I think we'll nail them down and see if do they need a presentation from us or a vote. I think once we get the design layout from Sean, we can probably have a better presentation and discussion with them.
I think from the perspective of the sewer district, it's defined on a lot by lot base, which is, a listing of lots as well as a map. The previous extensions were incorporated into that sewer district in that fashion. So right now, those two lots, Cook Estates plus the abutter, are not in the district. And my guess is you probably still want to incorporate them in formally at town meeting. But again, like Brian said, town council can advise.
Okay. We have anything else on the Cook Estate? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have the beer garden, 12 Parking Way. Is anyone here from the beer garden? I guess not.
I'm here.
Okay. So I think that the only thing we had to do was to take, since Paul, you weren't here the last meeting, for us to take a formal vote
Okay.
on this. I think that was the only piece we had. Wayne, does that sound right?
I think so, yes.
Okay. And what did we agree on the EDU? I can't remember, half or so? Maybe Lisa will grab me here.
It was either one or a half.
Lisa, if you can hear us, can you text me back what that is, please?
She in the chat room?
No, I suppose she could be chatting, but no, nobody's done anything since earlier. So
Aaron, what did we say?
one EDU just got confirmed.
Okay,
I believe it was one EDU.
Yep.
so do we want to make a motion?
Sure, go ahead.
You can.
I make a motion that we approve sewer connection of one EDU for 12 Parking Way for a beer garden.
Second,
And we'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsey, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Okay.
So this is, so do they submit plans? Is this subject to them submitting
Yeah,
plans?
yeah, it is. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, but we told them the last meeting that we
Yeah.
would
Just vote on the
have
EDU.
a formal vote on this. So,
Okay,
all right. Okay, what else? Anything
so
else?
what's next? What's next for the beer garden is an application?
Yeah, they have to put an application
Yep.
and pay the fee and then whatever the plans are so that we can
Okay.
review. 'Em.
Yeah, we have the plans all ready to go. So I'll get that application. Maybe I'll just reach out to Lisa and get that submitted.
Okay, and Lisa, we would have to set up Dan Coughlin on a separate PO for this project to review these plans,
Yeah, that's just
just from an administrative purpose.
Right.
understanding anyway.
Okay. Anything else?
No, just to confirm the 37,500, that's due. That's due all at once, right? That can't be done in any type of installment or anything like that.
No, it's one time.
Okay. All right. Well, then
All right.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're going to postpone capital at this point just because we don't have Woodard and Scott available for us to go over some things, but we'll push that off to the next meeting. But we should get it on that. A couple of things here. I want to combine the sort of regional sewer along with the Brewster and Ledgewood. I know there was some discussion back and forth, and we had it, Lisa and I had it with Dan last week about connecting Brewster and Ledgewood as part of the South Main extension. And I don't remember ever talking about it, but I thought we'd bring it up as a piece here. But just as a quick update, I got an email about an hour ago from Chris Senior. Actually, I opened it an hour ago. I think he sent it yesterday, the day before. Basically looking to have a preliminary meeting this week to then have a separate meeting with Situate. So I don't know when that is. At that point, I want to bring up with him that any subsequent meetings that we have should include the entire board. And then we decide whether, I don't know whether if we're out of town, do we have to advertise it? I suspect we probably do. But that any future meetings would include the 3 board members. You guys all cool with that?
Yeah, I am. I think the three of us should be involved in it. I mean, this is a monumental task for the town, not just doing South Main, but to potentially hook up Situate once it's completed.
Mhm.
So I think that the public should be there, and all three of us should be there for any meetings.
Okay. Okay, this update meeting has not been scheduled yet, so they're shooting for this Thursday. I may not be able to do it, and if I can't, I'll grab one of you guys to see if you can do it. But I'll keep you up to date on that. But then it goes back. I want to just speak on the Ledgewood and Brewster as far as the South Main possible extension, as to whether we think that's the right thing to do at this time, and just get your feedback.
Well, I'm in favor of it, and I just think that it should be designed, if not finished, so that it could be done. The beginning of the street, Brewster Road going in, was obviously all smaller houses that have been there for 40, 50 years, 60 years maybe. And the material in that area is the same clay that there is on the top of where the Cook Estate is, in terms of it's not good material. The people there have lived there for a long, long time, so that there's not a situation where they're moving and they have to inspect the system, and the system has to pass. So I think that there are probably a number of systems in there that need to be updated or will need to be updated. So, and we have the option of we have an easement for water, and I think an easement for other utilities is probably in there to come off of South Main Street, go under the railroad bed, and go on up and follow the water main that the town put in a couple of years ago, so that they move the water. So you wouldn't be going down 3A to connect on, you'd be going up off of
There's a street called Lincoln Lane that I think got divided by the train. Is that the lane you would think about going down? It's right on the town line.
Yeah, Brian, do you know what area they went up? I think it might be.
That Lincoln Lane, it's the last road on the south south side of that's where the water main loop went through, and I think that's what he's suggesting, to get over to Ledgewood from there.
So does the water main go under the railroad tracks now?
Yes.
It does, yeah. So it goes under the railroad tracks, and then there's an easement across the private property. It actually goes into Situate for a few feet, and then back into the last rotary that's at the edge of Ledgewood. So you'd probably stay 10 feet apart and maybe use or expand that easement, would be my guess.
Is there existing sleeve in this, Brian? For the sewer?
I don't know that, Dan. I think there may have been a sleeve, whether it was for water or sewer, and it was used. I don't know if there's a second sleeve. If not, you probably have to do like a pipe jacking.
We still have those old records as far as where all those sleeves were, you know?
Yeah, we should have them. I think we should have those plans. If they're not scanned in, they're at town hall, I think, in the Green Bush.
So if we're talking about Brewster and Ledgewood, so we would go down Lincoln Lane. Obviously, there's two other streets there, Woodway and Ledgeway, that are connected to Ledgewood. But then there's a street separate from that called Marion Way that comes off of 3A and dead ends into Ledgeway, but is not connected, and is not connected to Lincoln Lane. Would Marion also be connected as well?
I'm sorry. It's you have to look at the options, I guess. If there is no sleeve at Lincoln Lane, then we'd have to investigate potentially adding one, and if that's going to be feasible or not. I do know there is an existing extra sleeve at Beechwood. So that's a potential as far as coming through there. I think water we had a larger sleeve, I think, so water took that one and used it for their water main. But I think the water sleeve, which was a little bit smaller, would still be suitable for a pressure main. So, at least we know we have one crossing there. So I think in terms of evaluation, you need to evaluate coming in both ways,
Yeah, my concern is scope creep here, I don't always, I don't want to wake up, find out we just added, 300 homes or something, or 500
Yeah.
homes. And then the question is, any abutters to Brewster Road, or in between Brewster and Marion Way, would they be eligible to connect as well? I mean, where do we?
Yeah,
where do we-
if the pipe goes in front of them, we have capacity, they have the right to connect.
The,
So not a side of them, right? So, because at the side of Brewster Road there, right, we've got the New Abington Bank there, and we've got that shopping plaza. Those would not be considered then.
It's not going anywhere near, if it's not on the, if it doesn't go in front or in behind their property, no, they don't have to. We might consider doing, because I believe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a serious sewage flow at the store next to the liquor store and also at Starbucks.
That's correct. Yeah. I'm just concerned about scope creep. That's all.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I mean-
there's gonna be pros and cons with each one alternative. It's just,
now the Cohasset Conservation Trust owns the 15 or so acres there that includes a strip of land between two residential houses up on the top of the hill of Ledgeway. And so we'd need to get permission from them, but that would, there's a question on whether or not South Main Street, whether you want to turn right on Beechwood and handle and have the line go from there, take a left turn if you were headed towards 3A, go on up, or whether or not in our plans, do we want to pick up that 5-unit condo that's on the right-hand side that has been having problems? But that's a question of, do you want to go up Beechwood Street at all? That's-
Yeah, I'm in favor of not. I'm just concerned about all, sewering. Next thing you know, we've got that whole section sewered.
I would I'd leave a connection and have the pipe size big enough on Beechwood Street at South Main Street for the future if it's necessary. I wouldn't want to have it, you've got a 2-inch line that's serving South Main, so you can't put anything else on it that creates a problem in the future.
Will, is there a reason why? Yeah, is there a reason why Brewster and Ledgewood was brought up as part of the extension? Was there issues there, or?
No, that's what I'm saying is, I said,
Yeah.
from my history and I did the landscaping for probably 24 houses up there on Ledgeway and the different ones that went in there for builders, that, it was 55 years ago. And many of the houses are still owned by the same people. And my question is, the material wasn't great then. There was a lot of clay up there. So is it going to be something that's going to be problematic? Or if you went up now and checked every house, would you see potential failures or systems, that certainly systems that wouldn't pass today? So
They've had a lot of real estate turnover there, so they would have been up to Title V, I would think.
well, I guess we should,
Yeah,
go to the Board of Health and let's pull up the records of the street.
yeah. See which,
The activity is for the last 20
Yeah.
years.
so I mean, this all came up because we were also trying to get the town topo for the area, so we could look at the different options. And obviously, we're still trying to utilize that to save some time and effort.
I think once we get an idea on what's going on with what we decide to do with Situate and how it affects, obviously it'll affect our decision on South Main Street. I think all those type of things will come into play. And I think the catalyst will be getting a first meeting with the town of Situate. And what do you want to do?
Well, right now, we're going through and doing the preliminary layout of the sewer for the South Main Street section. So this comes into play, whether, what options do we have as far as leaving stubs for the future for this area, and whether or not, I mean, it's something that could always be added a little bit later, but it's nice to know up front so you can calculate the flows.
All right. Anyone else on either of these two subjects? Anything else, guys?
I think I'm good. I just,
Okay.
So in terms of the topo, we're waiting. Bill?
Yeah, I think we wait to see what's going on with the whole thing. I want to get an idea of what the whole package would be, my opinion anyway, as to what are we going to do and sort of the whole scope. Are we going to go all the way around Gannett to Border Street? Just what are we going to do? What's our plan?
You want us to hold off on the Board of Health too, or you want us to pursue that as far as Brewster and Ledgewood?
The Board of Health, I'm sorry.
Board of Health research on the septic systems up there?
So I don't think we need any research. I think
Yeah.
the Board of Health has they have a data layer they used interns with the past few years with, failed septics and such. I'll see if Pam, I think it's on our People GIS system. At least it gives you kind of like an overlook of where the failures are that are known.
and this is townwide, right?
Yeah, but like Wayne was saying, Title V is the trigger point on inspections. And if somebody's lived there forever and they have a failed system for 20 years, you're not going to find it until
Okay.
they transition the ownership. But there is a layer on known failures, I think, on GIS that the Board of Health keeps just to track, where the failed systems are.
Yeah, the
Brian,
only
is that something you can just ask Pam to send the three of us,
Yeah, I'll check with
Okay.
Pam. I don't know if it's Pam or Jason, but I'll.
or Lisa or somebody? I don't know. Just
Yeah, I know. I've seen it before.
Okay,
again,
and that'll
the
give
only
us
thing-
an idea too if there was anything, around the Gulf that had issues as well. So
Well, the only other thing would be those systems that were conditionally passed for the Title V. I'm not sure if those are documented because those systems may not meet Title V or may have gotten a variance from the Board of Health or a best feasible upgrade type of approvals. And that's something that you may not see on that failure list.
And you might want to look at the test results, the test pits and things like that of the failed systems so that you can get an idea of the soils, yourself, in terms of whether they're going to support, if you get 4 systems and it's all clay and it didn't pass the perk and stuff, you can assume that the systems in between are going to have the same soils and stuff. So,
Right, you want to do more research than just looking at a failure map, I think.
Okay.
and the other important thing is that we have to deal with Situate is whatever flows are going in, they have to go through our plant, or we're opening up valves in North Cohasset to sort of compensate for the flow that's coming in, so the flow goes out. But we have to really be careful about being able to handle it if there's a problem with the lines that are going to Hull that get to a point where they fail. So now we can't send the flow, and now we have to try to process it at our plant. And how are we going to do that if we're at capacity?
Yep. I would expect that we're going to go through every single permutation that we possibly can as far as failures and, if something happens to Hull and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're going to have to.
Yeah, but sometimes things go through quickly that the consequences are.
Yeah, but I think we have time to do this. I mean, it's just,
the opposite is true too. I mean, we use the flow going to Hull as well as if we have an emergency, we can pump more that way. And we did have an emergency. So, it's going to be true for Situate too. Now they have, they have a bypass relief valve. Basically, if they have an emergency, they can push more to us. We're doing the same thing to Hull when we have an emergency. So I suspect they'd want to do the same. So that it's really a cumulative capacity problem.
I think you also want to make sure that the level of analysis for the upgrade of their plant has gone through the process fully. because that might still be a cheaper alternative in the long run.
Yeah, and I think they have a problem also with their outfall into the North River is,
They
I
do.
think, probably what's driving it.
Yeah, but even if they pump to us, it just doesn't solve their problem. It just,
Well, it doesn't solve it doesn't solve that problem unless they
Yeah.
pump all of it to us, to shut their
yeah,
plant
yeah.
down. So,
I think the issue we're going to have too is that, from a top level, I don't know how many of us have an updated, waste water management plan or an updated resiliency plan, because now our plans have to coincide with each other to a certain extent, because if Situate has a problem, it's going to transfer some of that to us. And, if we have a similar problem at the same time, how do we transfer that to Hull? So some of that top level, some subject matter experts going to have to pay attention to.
Yeah, just as a note, your flows at the end of last year were 356,000. 4,000 shy of the trigger point as far as the 80% in the planning requirement. My guess is you're gonna move past that this year.
I mean, Tim Davis just presented this huge presentation to the selectmen on the whole harbor, and when he's talking about these coastal storms and part of their resiliency plan, that affects all three towns. So we'd have to make sure we take that into consideration. That's all.
Okey doke. So we have the town report as our last piece, and I believe that's just where we write a sort of update on where we are and how we're doing and all of that. So who wants to volunteer to do that one?
Yeah, I mean, I can take a look at it. This is primarily with Don Piat, right, to find out where we are in our budget. And
No, this goes into the town report, the annual report.
okay, so the update of where we are.
Just
What
look
we've
at
done.
past years or the years before and just,
Yeah, I'd pick one maybe 10 or 15 years ago and just throw that in, see if anyone will use
Okay.
it.
Yeah, well, if you have a template, I'd be more than happy to work with that.
Yeah, they have one. I mean, it's
Okay.
just the last years, it's just,
Okay.
I mean, it's, we replaced the membranes and,
Yeah.
did some other stuff. So,
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
can work with Lisa on it.
yep. I think I did it last year. So if you have anything, you can get me on it.
Okay.
And actually, Lisa just texted me. She's going to recirculate last year's report.
Okay.
All right.
You got it.
Okay. So does anyone else have any other business that we need to get into?
has the invoices for CJC been taken care of in terms of the money that Dan has
So Greg Corbo, thank you for bringing that up. Greg is going to be sending us a letter. I haven't received it yet. Basically outlining what we're to do and how to do it. And then I'll copy you, Dan, as soon as I'll get that. From now on, the communications between the town and CJC will be attorney to attorney. So we're not going to be in the middle of that. And he's going to set up we had a discussion with him, Chris and I and Brian last week, and he said he would get a letter to us. I'm hoping to get it today, but we'll see. And I'll certainly copy everybody on it.
Okay, so you don't need me to work on getting the invoices stuff together with Lisa or anything like that?
No, right now, no.
Okay.
No. And as soon as once we'll get it, we'll figure it out. So.
Yeah, we're still on hold as well, and I don't believe last set of comments ever went out to them on their plans.
All right.
But they've recently submitted another set as well. Excuse me.
Okay, anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, I make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsai.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
See you March 1st.
See you March 1st, if not sooner. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Jim.